John DiJulius is with us. Johnny, are you here?
He sure is.
All right. So I got to spend some time with John maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago at his annual conference. You'll notice in the Petra Post, we do some advertising for those conferences because we believe in this very, very highly. I think now more than ever, and John will speak to this as well, but I think now more than ever, customer service in our world is suffering. And we have an opportunity to set ourselves in business apart just by doing like a little bit better in customer service. Like just you walk around the world, you see how this has diminished. And John is not just the expert in customer service, but he practices this in his own business. He's a successful entrepreneur with 3 companies. There's all of his books. You can see him on the screen. And he leads like training sessions and all this stuff. I'll let him talk about that. But John's a dear friend of Petra's, a dear friend of mine. We've worked together for a long, long time, and we have a lot of the same beliefs. So we're super happy that you're here and you can share a little bit about yourself and give these guys some knowledge to get better today, John.
Thank you, Andy. Hello, everyone. I appreciate being here. I'm excited. I just want to get into it and leave some time for questions from any of you. The number one question today is, where are we at with the recession? Is it coming? Is it inevitable? Did it start? I'm here to tell you that we've been in a customer service recession for nearly 3 years now. If you look and listen, everyone on this call is a customer service expert because besides being leaders, you are a customer, you're a consumer, you're a client. So you know what it's like, and it's been god awful since the pandemic. According to the American Customer Satisfaction Index, the ACSI, which measures every industry's customer satisfaction, you can see since the pandemic, it's been dropping like the Titanic. Right? Why? Well, we had the Great Resignation, we had quiet quitting. We had supply chain issues. We had inflation. We had employee burnout, which led to leader burnout because all of a sudden we were asking our leaders to get back on the front lines and doing things that they thought they graduated from. Then prices went up and the experience went down. We were paying more for less. You may be familiar with shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is a shady way of raising your prices. So, if you like your Doritos or any of these products, and there's so many more, you're getting, 6 less Doritos in your bag, but still paying the same amount. The Gatorade bottle, which used to be 32 ounces, is now 29 or 28, but you're still paying the same. And that has trickled over to every industry. A smaller entree, same price. You book an hour and a half massage or facial, you're getting 80 minutes. The other thing that I know everyone's going to relate with this is tipflation. I mean, who isn't asking for a tip these days? Right. On my way to the airport too. And, you go into that Hudson bookstore to grab, a magazine, and they turn the screen on you and they asking for the 20, 25 or 30% tip for what? Scanning my magazine or chips or water. So, in spirit of that, at the end of my presentation, I'm going to have a tip option to see if I can, maybe get some tips here. But here's the good news. The top 10% of companies that are obsessed with the experience they give in any economy, outperform the industry and the S&P 500 by 400%, right? In profit, in so many things. So that's what we want to do is really become a customer obsessed company. If you take a picture of this, or in the upper right hand corner, tdg.click/Ascent 23, it'll give you every slide, because this presentation isn't as much for you as it is to make sure you bring this back to your team in little parts. Annual customer service trainings like deodorant. If you only do it once a year, the it'll wear off and the smell will come back. So you want to, TOMA, top of mind awareness. Always be visiting, what it is. And just like Maureen said, always be visiting these habits and make, a part of your playbook. I love asking this question. If you're going to build a world-class customer experience organization, it could be B2B, B2C. It could be an accounting firm. It could be a consulting firm. It could be a hot dog stand, at the corner of Main and Fifth. What is more important? A, the hiring of new employees, or B, the training and culture you bring those new employees in. And so before you mentally vote, or you can put it in the chat, I'm going to tell you the obvious answer is both, right? You absolutely can't achieve this without doing both very, very well. And I've written books, and I have a new book coming out in Q4 of 2024 called The Employee Experience Revolution. But if I'm going to ask you, give me 51%, 1 extra percent to one of those, which one would you give? I'll let you think about it, but I'm going to go and agree with the B's. Okay. A's, don't get mad at me. Like I said, I'm obsessed with the hiring and continuous, what we do to attract. But do we really think the Disneys of the world, the Ritz-Carltons of the world, the Zappos of the world, the Amazons of the world, American Express, and there's a short list there, but do we really think they found 50,000 cast members, employees, associates, whatever you may call them, born to serve? No, I don't think there's 500 human beings walk at planet Earth that are born to serve. But this is what Walt said himself. We don't put our new people in Disney. We put Disney in our new people. Right. I love that. So I want you to write that down, but change the word Disney to your brand. Don't put your new employees in your brand. Put your new brand in your employees. And that starts pre-hire, right? It starts during the interview process. And I'm going to show you some ways. Number one thing CEOs get wrong with customer experience is they think it's common sense. They think it's innate. They think it's, we're all born with it. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. How good any company is at customer experience comes down to one thing and one thing only: your average service aptitude, from the CEO to the maintenance guy to the person that's starting next week on the phones. Service aptitude is a person's ability to recognize opportunities, to meet and exceed customers' expectations. And these last 4 words here are key: regardless of the circumstances. And what I mean by that is, on Monday in January, depending on what your peak seasons are, right, we all look good because it's slow and the phones aren't ringing and the place isn't busy and the orders on time. But on your worst day, peak hour, peak season, when shit has hit the fan, we still have to be, we have to make sure that, 18-year-old hostess doesn't let the client guest know that they don't even have their appointment down for some reason. So that's not the paradigm shift. The paradigm shift is where service aptitude comes from, right? In most cases, our most recent hired, least trained, lowest paid employees deal with our customers the most, right? And I'm guessing the people on this webinar, and it should be, but the people on this webinar are probably don't deal with the clients as much as, our customer facing employees. And that's the key. So here's where there's 3 places that all of our service aptitude has gotten shaped and continues to get shaped. And this also goes for our current generation of team members and our future generation of team members. The first place is previous life experiences. Okay. I don't know about anybody here, but I didn't grow up staying at 5-star resorts, flying first class, getting $150 haircuts, and driving a Mercedes Benz when I turned 16. Yet every job I had, from the moment I was in high school and beyond, and I entered the workforce, I was expected to give that type of experience to those types of clients, patients, tenants, guests, whatever that we may call them. And it's not fair, right? The second place service aptitude comes from is previous work experiences. And unless you have a direct pipeline to former Disney, Chick-fil-A, Ritz-Carlton employees, which none of us do, that means your employees and future employees have worked somewhere else, most probably at a place that wasn't world-class, and you're trusting your existing customer experience on their previous job. And they were probably brainwashed to say, hey, young Andy, don't let clients take advantage of us, right? And he does what he says, or what he's trained on. And then he just treats every client he may come in contact with like they're trying to get away with something. And those could be our platinum VIP clients. So we as leaders cannot control these first two things. The only thing we can control is the third thing, what we do with them after we hire them. And so I love to ask this question and do the math. If you were to hire I have three adult boys, 21 to 31. Okay. Great kids. But if you're to hire them, any of them tomorrow to work in a customer facing position, how much training would you give them before you cut them loose, before you allowed them to come in contact with your customer? All right. So some may say, 2 days, some may say 2 weeks, some may say 2 months. That's actually not the answer I'm looking for, okay? Here's what I'm looking for. Of the 40 hours, 400 hours, or 4,000 hours of training you're going to put them through, of that, what percentage is technical, operational, right? The dotting the I's and slash the T's and how to process orders and CRMs and all that? And what percentage is the service aptitude of teaching them how to have compassion and empathy, and how to make a brilliant comeback when we drop the ball, and how to create a rapport, right? And the critical soft skill superpowers that isn't taught and isn't in the generations at no fault to their own, the listening skills, right? All those things. And in most companies, it's 98 to 99% technical operational procedures, standard operating procedures. And the 1 to 2% of their customer service training really looks like this. Hey, Emily, see in the back room here, we say we're customer obsessed. Yeah, go do that. Well, if you tell 100 employees to do, I have this emoji on that when I do this, I get a thumbs up. I don't know how to turn it up. I also somehow, I don't know if it's about the volume of my voice, but balloons pop up. So if they do, I apologize. It's not intentional, but I've had a lot of balloons been popping up in my Zoom presentations. But anyway, if you tell 100 employees to go out and deliver genuine hospitality, let's say, or exceed customers' expectations, or go above and beyond, you'll get 100 personal interpretations. So the one key that world-class customer service companies do is they remove personal interpretations, and they teach what their version of genuine hospitality or whatever their customer experience action statement is. So here, let me wrap up this. It is not your employees to have high service aptitude. It's not your employer's responsibility. It's yours, the company's, to give it to them. Assume that no one will have high service aptitude you're hiring. I don't care if they have 15, 30 years experience. If anything, they may have lower service aptitude in your industry because of that. Okay. So this Bain and Company asked 300 leaders from 300 different organizations if they provided an excellent experience. 80% said they did. Pretty good group. So they thought. What they didn't know is at the same time they were surveying 3,000 of their clients. 8% of their clients agreed with them. All right. 80% were convinced they provide an excellent experience. 8% of their clients agreed with them. Who's right? Right. I don't subscribe to the customer's always right, but we all better, and everyone that works for you better realize that we work in the customer client perception business. And you can tell me all day how great your client experience is, but your re-sign rate, your referral rate, your NPS, your KPIs don't lie. So there's a lot of reasons we could spend all day on this, and it's a great exercise. Why is there a disparity? Why the person that disappointed you recently, okay, in an transaction, is convinced and probably would pass a lie detector test if asked, did you exceed their expectations? And they'd say yes, and they'd pass even though you thought they had an attitude, you couldn't believe, how transactional they were. So there's a lot of really good answers. So, one of them is that we compare ourselves to our industry. And that's a huge mistake. Because for most of our businesses, my first business I've had for 30 years is a chain of upscale salons and spas in Cleveland. Okay, let's use that as an example. If Emily comes in today and flies to Cleveland on Andy's dime, right? And gets a haircut, gets a facial, gets a massage. She then doesn't leave my salon in Cleveland and go across the street, down the street to our nearest competitor and compare. She's pretty good for a few weeks or a month now for the salon experience. So where she's going after she leaves the salon is she has a doctor's appointment. She has to meet a friend, for lunch at a restaurant. She has to run and errands, dry cleaning, that. And that's what she's comparing her experience to. So kind of our direct competitor is irrelevant. Yeah, we better be better than them, but it doesn't stop there. Another reason is when we say an excellent experience, we sometimes isolate it and say, oh yeah, I crushed it with my 10:30 yesterday. Well, what about your 9, your 11:30, your 2, and your 4, right? And so, just because, excellent experience means consistently, but yeah. And then some people say, well, maybe we don't ask our customers enough. And I love that. And obviously, asking the customer, voice of the customer, all those are critical. But I love what Steve Jobs said. He said, don't ask the customers what they want. Give them what they can't live without. Love that. And if you look at these revolutionary brands that when they came into existence, they disrupted their industry. Their industry didn't look anything like what it does today. Well, they didn't do focus groups, right? Pretend this was, 2012. And I asked all of you what you wanted in a cab driving experience. I doubt any of you would have said, hey, John, I'd like to be able to step on any street corner at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. and have a strange unmarked car pull up and I'd get in and drive off with them, right? All Uber is systematized hitchhiking. And Henry Ford said it best. He said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So Ascent, Petra is not about building faster horses. So the number one reason why there's a disparity between what we think, and even more so our customer-facing employees think they're delivering, and what our clients, customers, patients, tenants, guests think they're receiving, is that most customer-facing employees are not your customers. They're not the same age, demographic, income, all these things. Think about that. The kid parking cars for valet at the Ritz-Carlton has never stayed at a Ritz-Carlton and probably drives a, 5 to 8 year old used vehicle like we all did at that age, but he's parking Lamborghinis and Maseratis and all those cars that end in a vowel, right? My first business, John Roberts Spa, still owned, not involved in today. Our average employee, we have 150 employees, their average hairdresser is like in their mid-20s, right? Our average guest is many of you, a professional female 40 to 55-year-old. Okay, so if you're 26, what do you know what it's like to be a 47-year-old male or female, where 24 hours is enough time in the day, 36 hours wouldn't be enough time in the day. And the pressures of raising children, relationships, demands at work, clients, aging parents, all those things. So every business we've ever worked with, the first thing we do with them, and we've done this with Starbucks and Chick-fil-A and 5, diamond hotels and Price Water, you name it, every industry, we create a day in the life of their customer, right? And so 2 things to make sure, you're better training your frontline staff on what's going on in a customer's day, so they have more compassion and empathy. But the other thing is, so we, de-transaction, I'm making up that word. I don't think that's a real word. Untransactionalize, because we all look at our customer as, our 10:30 Zoom call, right? Our 201B, that's a hospital, room number in bed. My webinar for Ascent at whatever time it is there. I'm trying to think what time is 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Right. Tomorrow I have a keynote in LA. That's the ugly transactional side versus no, that's a human being, a business that is heavily dependent on what we are serving them. Okay, so I'm going to show you what a day in the life of that we show our John Roberts employees of who may be coming in today and what is going on in their life that they're going to be interacting with.
When you try best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, but not what you need. When you feel so tired, but you can't sleep. Stuck in rivers. And the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace. When your life so it goes to. Would it be worth it? To let it go. But if you never try, just watch you.
I apologize. That's actually the DiJulius group's day in the life of a client. So that video is about you, all of you, and what you're dealing with in your businesses. But it's to provide compassion and empathy, so we're not treating them as next 201B, our 1030, all those things that we could be guilty of. So that's a powerful tool. I don't know if anyone needs, kind of a virtual hug here, but it's supposed to take you on an emotional roller coaster because there's great things happening in our clients' day and there's stressful, things happen in our clients' day. So it really helps our employees who maybe have never been on the other side of the fence, probably never been a C-level, at a corporation, and now they're serving them. So, all right. One of our biggest things at the DiJulius group that we do is we help make price irrelevant. I love this term. Making price irrelevant doesn't mean you can double your prices or raise your fees even 50% and not lose potential or existing clients. Here's what making price irrelevant looks like. It means based on the experience your brand consistently delivers, your customers have no idea what your competition charges. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Your brand consistently. That means it can't be dependent on if I get Emily, right? Anyone I come in contact with in any channel has to meet or exceed my expectations. And I'm price sensitive. Everyone on this webinar is price sensitive. I've been the idiot that's driven 3 extra miles to save 50 cents on something, not realizing I lost in that exchange. But personally and professionally, I have a few people I do business with that they've made me so loyal because of the relationship, because of the peace of mind, because of the rapport they've built, that I don't even know how they compare in price, nor do I care, because I know that, what I'm getting with them. So, better understand Cleveland. It's not Nashville. It's not New York. It's not Las Vegas. It's a small Midwest big city, if you will. The average haircut in Cleveland is $32 for a woman. So some of you, it may be cheaper to get on a plane and fly to Cleveland. Our least expensive, what we call a designer one, hairdresser for women, is $50 after they've gone through like a year of training. And then we have level 7, 8, 9, and 10 designers that are $100 to $175 in Cleveland, booked for 3 months to 3 weeks to 3 months. So, at the end of the day, there's only so straight you can cut a straight line. Years ago, but this is in the 22 years ago or more, when I was more involved in the salons, there was a salon 4 doors down from us that put this sign in their window, and my staff panicked. They're like, oh my God, they're going to run us out of business. We got to start running discounts and promotions. And said, no, we don't play those games. Let's focus on the experience. Let's be brilliant at the basics. Let's raise the bar. And then we put this sign in our window. And you may be surprised to know that in about 6 months, that other salon went out of business, not because of us, but that was a desperation move, right? And we don't compete in price wars. We compete in experience wars. A lot less competition, that doesn't know how to do it as well. So all our businesses and most businesses that we work with choose to compete in experience wars, but it's a different game. It could be lucrative, but it is a different game. So one question that every company is getting today, that got yesterday, that is getting tomorrow, every day, is they're calling up someone, they're coming in contact with a client-facing employee, and they're saying, how much do you charge? Does your firm, does your company? And your employee may quote it, right? And here's what your employee hears next. Whoa, I can get that somewhere else for less, down the street, online, wherever. And it's what we say next that's critical, okay? And role play this. Because most people, even leaders, shrink, and they'll say, oh, well, here's what we'll do. We'll throw in your first month free, or we'll, won't charge for shipping, or we'll add this. That's shrinking. You want to be prepared, and you want to prepare your customer-facing employees with such a strong answer that when they're done explaining the value, the expertise, that you provide, the peace of mind, the training that your employees have, the guarantee that you stand behind your product and services, without disparaging the competition. After the way you want that answered, you want your potential client or existing client to walk away saying, oh, I can't afford to go cheaper. Right? And we've all been there. The cheaper we go, the more it costs us. So that's a really important exercise to do, to make sure your employees know how to articulate, answer that, to win over a client. I love when people ask me about price, right? Because basically you're saying, John, I'm giving you a 30 to 60 second opportunity to brag. Right? And that's what you get to do to justify why you are the experienced and expert leader at what you do. So wrapping that up, is discounting is the tax you pay for delivering an average experience. So the first thing you do that you can do on your own is you create a day in the life of a customer, story, timeline, video, whatever that looks like. The next thing we do, world-class company brands do, that you can do, is you create a customer experience action statement, different from a mission, different from your core values. It may be one of your core values, different from a purpose. Okay. A customer experience action statement is your North Star for your customer service. It's a clear call to action of what every team member should be intentionally trying to achieve every time they interact with another human being, right? I don't even like that the word says customer. It's team member, it's customer or client, it's the UPS man, it's anyone they're coming in contact with. And so we helped Starbucks create theirs about 12 years ago. And for over a decade, you can go into any Starbucks in Nashville, in Cleveland, in Malaysia, and ask them to turn over the inside of their green apron. And that's where their customer experience action statement was, because it wasn't for the consumer to see, it was for the barista to be reminded, 10, 15 times a day when she took on and off his or her green apron. So when you create your customer experience action statement, think about what your green apron is, because just as important is what it is, it's how you're going to advertise TOMA, top of mind awareness. The DiJulius group is Carpe Momento, right? That's our client experience action statement. Seize the moment, right? How? Know more, care more, give more. And the three pillars are to me more important than the customer experience action statement. That's just a platitude by itself. No more means no one better be smarter than us at what we do. Now, I don't expect the person dealing with Emily on handouts and bios and introductions and logistics to know how to consult, but Emily, our goal is that Emily deals with a lot of speakers and consultants for event planning. She better think there is no one smarter at their job, from a logistics than Lindsay from my team, right? So the no more applies to whatever position you have in your company. Care more is that Emily's a human being. Emily has a lot of pressure on her. She has a lot of people dependent on the job she does. And we want to help her look great. We want her to, get promoted. We want her to be the hero of that event or whatever it is. And then the give more is the above and beyond, right? Surprise and delight, whatever, whenever, find out something that's going on in Emily's life or Andy's life or whoever our client is. So seize the moment. How? No more. Be brilliant. And that's part of the company's job, and part of the employee's job is to make sure they know their job, anticipate, needs and all that. Care about the person you're dealing with. Be human first and professional second, and then look for ways to exceed customers' expectations. This is a great slide that you'll have, but you can also take a picture of it. This is some great exercises to do to kind of start crafting what your customer experience action statement is. Get your team together. The first question is, after coming in contact with you, whoever you are in your organization, how do you want your customer to feel emotionally every time? No excuses. Now, people are going to say, they're going to answer that with happy, satisfied. That's not good enough. What are you doing specifically to make them happy, right? Instead of just answering their question and moving on. All right, the next question, how do you want the customer to describe the interaction? So maybe you just had a call with Emily or Lindsay from my team. What do you want? What do I want? What does my team want you to say when someone says, who'd you just deal with at the DiJulius group, Lindsay or Nicole? All right, describe what that interaction was like. It's kind of like writing your 5-star Yelp review and then working backwards from that, making sure that we're intentional about that. And then the third question to this is, what would it take for you to be the best moments in your client's day? And it's not heroic. It's not finding the pregnant woman in the parking lot ready to give birth. It's about paying attention, remembering that they went on vacation last week, remembering that it was their daughter's birthday, sending a sympathy card because some loved one lost. It's about being in the moment. Okay. The enemy of a great customer experience is inconsistency, and every company suffers from employee roulette. All right. To a certain degree, the better ones, much less. Employee roulette is when the level of experience your clients receive is dependent on which employees they encounter. And so we have to remove employee roulette. Employee roulette is evil. And it does start in a hiring process, but then it starts in the next 90 days training, and then it starts in the accountability. So how do you do that? Create a customer bill of rights. It's a lot of people's favorite. It's not hard to do. And you could see a big impact in a short amount of time. The customer bill of rights is kind of your nevers and always. So let me give you I never point, always show. Now, a lot of us think of it as, being at a hotel or restaurant, and you might say, where's the restroom? Instead of pointing, I show you, or I have someone show you. But if you're in a B2B world, 99% of our interactions digital or over the phone. Well, you could point over the phone, or you could point in an email. Oh, you can get that off our website. Or that's Lindsay. Emily, you might want to call Lindsay. I think she's out until Monday. She can get that for you. No. We'll send the link. Let me find that answer for you, right? That's the showing. Never say no. The answer isn't always say yes. There's a lot of things we can't say yes to. Just focus on what you can do. No is Latin for I am lazy, and I'm not figuring this out for you. You have to figure it out. Okay. So don't use the word no. Focus on what you can do for them. No problem. Don't, that's a horrible word. Words. Let's say certainly, my pleasure. Absolutely. You're welcome. Cold transfer versus a warm transfer. I think everyone knows this. Typically over the phone, that can be in person. Another big pet peeve of mine is oversharing. Everyone overshares, employees overshare for a couple of reasons. One, we just talk too much, right? Oh, you wouldn't believe. I mean, I've literally had someone tell me they had a splitting migraine before they were about to take care of me. I didn't need to know that. Stay home. But now I think I'm going to get shortchanged on this experience. But the other reason why we tend to overshare as a business is I want to make sure it wasn't my fault. Okay. So let's say my slides weren't ready, or you didn't get handouts or whatever. Oh, I gave them to Lindsay. I had them ready 2 weeks ago. Lindsay was supposed to send them to you. No. Take care of it, right? If we need to take someone out back and beat them in our business, right? Just kidding. But our clients, the public doesn't need to know about any dysfunctionality we're having. Okay. All right. Some more. And Emily, I can't see the chat right now. I just want to make sure, is it still around 2:35? I should wrap up and take questions.
Yeah, you're good.
So a couple more minutes on the presentation side.
Yep, that'd be great. 5 minutes or so.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to try to rush through this. Never say only I don't know. Always say, let me find out. Never show frustration publicly. Be a duck. A duck is the most graceful, beautiful thing gliding across the water when no one knows or sees. It's paddling like hell underneath. I want to jump because there's some really good things. I'm going to jump to another slide. Here, love these. Introduce yourself by name. I don't care how many times you've seen that client, right? People forget. They deal with a lot of people. Always use the customer's name. Beat the greet. This used to say beat the customer, but United took it personally, so we had to change it to beat the greet. What that means is if anyone walks into your office, anyone walks into your building, no one says hi first. Your employees say hi. 15.5 means you come in 15 feet of anybody. You say you give them sign language. Smile and nod. 5 feet, you say something. Even if I'm walking by someone to get to someone else, I say good morning, great to see you again, welcome back. Smile is part of the uniform. We send people home for being out of uniform. If you're happy, tell your face, right? And a smile can be heard in an email. A smile can be read in an email. A smile can be heard on a phone call. And there's no interaction. This can't be executed wrapping up face-to-face over the phone or via email. Is there anything else I can do for you today, Emily? Right? Making her feel like she is it. Even though I have 6 blinking lights, I'm 5 minutes late for a meeting, whatever that may look like. Okay, so you want to come up with a short list of nevers and always. I gave you way too many, but these are huge, right? These are your non-negotiable standards. Okay, couple more minutes. I really want to get to. I did a TED talk called Meet as Strangers, Leave as Friends. You can Google it, but if you got the barcode, there's going to be a link to it. It's 9 minutes and 31 seconds. Show it to your entire team. If you have kids 8 or older, show it to them. It's about the lost art of building rapport, making a human connection that every generation has a decline in people skills, but we have 30 and unders at no fault of their own that just grew up in a digital age and just were taught this. Okay. So we need to teach it, and they are rock stars when they are taught this. So first thing we got to remember and teach is everyone we come in contact with has an invisible sign above their head that says, make me feel important, right? You do, I do. Everyone does. Stephen Covey said, people don't listen with the intent of understanding. They listen with the intent of replying, right? So true. Scientists studied the human brain, and they found that it took the human brain a minimum of 0.6 seconds to formulate a response to something said to it. Then they studied hundreds, thousands of conversations and found the average gap between people talking was 0.2 seconds. So how can how can we be responding in 1/3 the time that our brain will allow? Well, because we're coming up with our answer minutes before that person is done talking, and we're just jumping in as soon as they come up for air. So what should we do when we talk to others? Right? Listen. And Simon Sinek said there's a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. So the greatest gift we can give anyone, our team members, our clients, our family members, is the gift of our attention. So just because, you met someone, you had lunch, you bumped into them in a social event and networking, and you talked to them for 15, 20, 30 minutes, doesn't mean you built a rapport, because you might've been talking about yourself for 15, 20, or 30 minutes. We're all genetically coded to be preoccupied with what's going on in our life. So here's how you prove it to yourself. Here's how your team members prove it to you that they focused on the other person. And any length of conversation with anyone else, they have to learn 2 or more things of the other person's Ford. If you learn 2 or more things of the other person's Ford, you not only built a relationship, you now own the relationship, because each and every one of us, our Ford is what we geek out about, right? Family, are they married? Do they have kids? How old are their kids? What activities, grades are their kids into? Occupation, what do they do? How long they've been doing it? What's their company's name? What's their title? Recreation, right? This might be one of the hottest buttons besides family. What we choose to do with our evenings, weekends, and vacations is huge, right? And then finally, dreams. What's on their bucket list? What's their career encore performance they're working towards? And this doesn't have to be like a stalker checklist, right? A lot of this stuff comes up organically, naturally. A lot of times our clients will overshare and tell us without us even asking. But if you're on a phone call and you hear a dog barking in the background, listen, anyone that has a pet, they're pretty passionate about ask about that dog. What kind of dog? You hear a baby crying in the background, or you see something on their shirt that says, Ohio State Buckeyes or Hilton Head, right? This is all Ford being thrown at you. So every client of ours, they all have different CRM systems. We've never come across a CRM system that you can't customize and add Ford to, that you can cheat right before you get on that call or right before you go into that meeting. There's a conversation gift in every conversation. So I want to make sure I leave time. So I'm going to wrap it up and open it up to any question. I'm going to show that for a second, and I'm going to close my screen in case you didn't get it the first time. And then 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Hey, John, always a pleasure. There's a ton of information in there. So
Thank you,
we want to get to any questions. I did ask, I put in the chat just now, I know that you have a customer service training group within your organization, and Cassandra is on here from NOLA EDU. So I asked her.
Yeah.
So she could share maybe a little bit about her experience and maybe, direct some people to think about sending people to that.
Yeah.
session.
So it's a Customer Experience Executive Academy. It actually just ended today, this year's class. You come to Cleveland, beautiful Cleveland, the capital, the customer service capital of the world, 3 days every quarter for a year. So our next class starts in January 2024. But if you missed that and it's sold out the last 3 or 4 years, you got to wait till 2025.
All right, awesome. So that's another way to kind of get educated on this. Any questions we have for John? Anything that is on your mind?
Hit me up. Tell me that's all great, but it doesn't apply to your world.
John, one of the things I love is that day in the life and the creation of the video. We've used that a lot over the years. We talked earlier about sitting in the customer's seat, like viewing your business from their perspective. So you've taken a little bit farther and said, well, let's just go take the perspective of our customer, our consumer, our client, and make sure everybody is educated on that. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about how powerful that has been for some of
I mean, it's so powerful because there's a disconnect, right? At 21, I didn't know what the world was really going on outside of my little bubble, which was bars in college, right? I mean, that I have no idea what the rest of the world is, and the people I was dealing with. And we have customers, we have invisible service providers, and this is really important. An invisible service provider is someone who doesn't come directly in contact with the external customer. So a great example I had was when I was in college. From 3 a.m. to 8 a.m., I loaded trucks for UPS. I was a preloader that the truck driver would then come in and take it out and deliver to your house or your business. If you would have asked me back then who my customer was, I would have laughed. I would say the box. Like, what do you mean who my customer is? I work on a conveyor belt and put boxes in trucks. And most times I think I did a pretty good job, but sometimes, listen, I was in college. Truth be told, I went from the bar to work sometimes, and I probably didn't have my best day. And then the next day, that truck driver or those truck drivers I loaded, they'd come in mother effing me. And this was in the 80s, right? This is how long ago this was. These drivers were making close to $50,000. Today, they make $175,000, right? That was a billionaire to me. So if Andy was a truck driver and he came in and started screaming that I, misloaded his truck, my mentality, and I probably said it in so many words, is screw you, pal, go spend your money, right? I mean, you don't have a college degree and, you're making all this money. I was jealous, right? So fast forward, I graduate from college and I go driving because I couldn't find a job that came close to, pay what UPS did. So I have a wife at home, a 6-month at home, and I am burning it up. Burning it up means I'm running into your business. Can you sign this? I'd run back, skip breaks, skip lunches. I just want to get home. 4 o'clock, I have 2 more packages left. I remember one time I went to a payphone. This is how long ago it was. Call my wife. Say, I'm going to be back in the warehouse at 4:30, home by 4:45, make reservations, make dinner. Okay, we're going to have a great night. Then I go and grab that package, my last package, and it's misloaded by my damn preloader for a section of that town that I was in at 9 this morning. Now I have to drive across town in rush hour to deliver this one package. I'm not getting home until after 6:30, 7 o'clock because of that one misloaded package. But it wasn't until then I realized UPS failed to teach me, the preloader, who my customer was, who was the driver, and how the job I did affected and impacted him and his customers who were expecting that package at 10 a.m., who always get their deliveries at 10 a.m., and then the domino effect. So we got to make sure that we do a day in the life for each other, a day in the life for sales, so support understands that, and a day in the life of support, so sales has more compassion and empathy.
That's good. That's a good breakdown of the different components. We do have a couple of questions up on the screen. Let's see. Lau, we'll just unmute you and jump right in.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, John. My question is, how do you make it sustainable? Now, you started with this, you understand it, you have a place where people understand, and you started rolling it in. How do you make it sustainable throughout, times and changes in leadership and other things?
Yeah. So top of mind awareness, TOMA, TOMA, top of mind awareness. You can't just train them in their first orientation and expect them all to go out. Several things can happen, right? We train young, brand new Emily, and we say, this is our non-negotiables. We never do this. We always do this. Always, collect forward, document, right? She's ready. She's ready to crush it. And then she goes out there and she has coworkers that don't do this. And they're like, no. And I think Maureen just said, no, we don't really have to do that. And she will model the behavior of, she will gravitate to the average of the 5 people she works with the most, right? So, you got to make sure that you don't just train it once, you constantly train it, audit, hold them accountable. And we have a Credo card, and it has our customer experience action statement. It has our 3 pillars. It has our nevers and always. So at our pre-shift huddles or our daily huddles, we can visit one thing from that Credo card, takes less than 30 seconds, right? And we'll say, hey, Andy, tell us what our customer experience action statement. Andy will say, Carpe Momentum. All right, Andy, what does that mean to you? You work in warehouse. Okay. Emily, you work, as an account executive. What does that mean to you? And then we move on to, other stuff. Tomorrow we'll visit one of the pillars. Next Monday, we'll visit one of the nevers and always using examples. Hey, has anyone been guilty of oversharing? I did. I totally slipped up, and I said, so I'm going to overshare right here. I just had shoulder replacement last week. Okay. Not that that's a real overshare, but I don't want people to think I'm giving less than, but it was painful. It still is painful. I think I'm a little bit of a wimp, but I don't want, to get up in front of the audience and grimace and tell people, oh, I had shoulder surgery, because now you think you're getting ripped off. Right? Oh, great. We got to spend 8 hours with someone who's probably on Vicodin and who knows what the hell he's saying. So whatever it is. So you do things like that. And it's great when it comes from a leader who says, I was guilty of it, and give examples that's specific to what your job or your department do.
I love the Credo card idea. Just a little piece on a regular basis, keeping it in front of everybody. So think about that as a potential takeaway. Cassandra, you're up here right now. I know we ran into each other at the event itself. There's the Credo card. John's holding.
Sure.
Hi, Cassandra.
Hi, John. Here's our Credo card as well.
That's so cool.
Like Andy said, we had the pleasure of working with John and his team throughout this past year. It was great to learn more about everything that he spoke about, get with him. But John, I was wondering, what can we do to get our team members who are not customer facing to really embrace the customer centric mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I love asking this question, don't love the answer, but when I'm in front of a big group, I'll say, how many people work in customer experience or customer service, and only the phone support people or the account executives will raise their hand, and eventually everyone will figure it out. But we have to teach them, like I wasn't aware of, that we all have customers, right? If you're not serving the customer directly, you better be serving someone that is. So I might be serving Andy, and I need to understand what Andy needs from me. And it's not just Andy being, and I'm not talking about Andy, the CEO president, it's Andy, the whoever, you salesperson or account executive or accountant, whatever. It's not just Andy just being a blowhard saying, John, where's my proposal that I need to get to my client? Hey, John, where's this? I'm thinking, but you have to understand, Andy's up against 4 other salesmen who's getting their proposals, who might be cheaper, right? And vice versa. Andy, the frontline account executive needs to know that, the support person, marketing, whoever, isn't just, watching TikTok all day. They have 15 Andys asking him for stuff. So it's just really seeing the part that you play in that customer experience cycle and the success. And the other problem is that a support team is like an offensive lineman, right? The only time their name gets mentioned in a game is when they screw up. And not only they freaking call timeout, they turn on their microphone and say number 82 caught for holding, and everyone in the world wants to kill number 82 because now we have to punt the ball. But what they failed to do was talk about 82, how he knocked the defender on his rear end 6 times so the quarterback can throw a touchdown and the running back could run for 200 yards. And who gets the praise tomorrow in the paper and on the radio? The quarterback and the running back. So we got to make sure that we're, saying that, Andy couldn't have closed that sale or couldn't have gotten the standing ovation if it wasn't for Emily and all the other people on his team.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Yeah, it's like know your customer internally and externally. So those pieces are really important. John, appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you.
Always show up for us.